Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Small Boat Shorts. This is episode 5, how I modify my hidden hinges. I'm going to show you how to turn this 1" by 1" hinge into a modified version to allow you to do the clean hidden hinge mod, and why modifying these hinges will allow you to hide your hinges and give you the necessary clearance within your decking. I'm just going to show you what I used in my build. You can do some variations of this technique or this modification. I have a unique situation where my decking is 3/8 inches. Therefore, I have to use a 1/2 inch hinge, which ends up being a 1 by 1 inch open. These particular hinges I got at Lowe's. Okay. And we are going to modify these. And I'm going to show you in depth how I do that and why you must do that to make them work and actually be like this. Okay, now with these hinges I'll also use stainless steel number 6 3/4 inch screws for the most part. In some places I used 1 inch, and then also when I did my heavy duty modded out hinges that I did a video on, I used rivets. But nonetheless, you're going to have to modify these for them to work. Let me show you how I did it. To modify these hinges, all we're going to do is create a recess for our screw to actually sit flush inside this hinge. That's the trick, is you want this to be able to close without screw heads butting each other. Okay? The only way that I've figured out to do that is to take a drill bit that is the same diameter as the screw head. There's the focus, which will be a 15/64 bit if you go with the number 6 screws. Now the main thing you're going to need is a drill press. Okay, I've got a 15/64 bit already equipped on this drill press, and all I'm going to do is bore that hole out very carefully on the hinge. Watch your fingers. Couple things here. Number one, I would recommend taking some sort of scrap wood piece and putting it on the base of your drill press to give you a nice smooth surface to work on. Okay, and then really sink that bit into the hinge. I've tried to do it on this plate. Way too hard to do. This makes life so much more easier. Also, these hinges, when you start to drill into them, there's this thing called science. And there's friction. These guys get hot. I'm talking smoking hot, burn your fingerprint off. So I would recommend drilling a hole in one and moving on to another and drilling a hole in that one and just rotating as these hinges cool off. Make your life a lot easier. Lastly, I tried to, when I first came up with this idea to use these hinges to modify them, I tried to use a hand drill. After almost cutting my finger off, I realized that it was not going to work, so I've actually got the drill press to use instead, and it really made life a lot easier. I know that everybody's not going to have a drill press at their disposal, but guys, I don't know any other way to achieve drilling holes that accurately and precisely without this tool. You're really going to need a drill press. That's the best way I could think of to make this modification of these hinges. And that will show you exactly what we're trying to achieve. We're just ever so slightly boring out that hole to accept that number 6 screw head so it will sit flush within the hinge. You're going to see when I do this demonstration exactly what I mean and why that's crucial. And really, the only thing that is necessary to do to these hinges to allow for them to sit in between your hatches, flush and free-flowing when you open, and to allow them to close without binding. And now to demonstrate why we did the work that we did to the hinges, what the point was. I'm a visual person, so I've rigged this up to do a demo. All right, this would represent some decking, perhaps this piece, and then this would represent a hatch, perhaps this hatch or that hatch, or, well, there's hatches everywhere. So basically, this is your modded hinge. This is your unmodded hinge. Your modified hinge will allow, look at that, guys. It'll allow your hinge to close, your hatch to close. Flush, sit flush. Your unmodified will have butting screw heads. All right, so let's flip this over to kind of show you what happens here. When you do not modify, okay, the hinge, these screw heads sit up. All right, they sit high. Okay, and what happens is when you go to close, they catch each other and it binds, and it does not work. By just taking that drill bit and boring out, okay, that hinge to make it look like that, your screw heads sit almost flush inside of that hinge, and it allows it to close all the way, and then some, actually. Plenty of clearance, no clearance at all. And that, my friends, is how I did all the hinges in my boat. You could take this technique and apply it to maybe a heavier duty hinge. Again, I use these hinges because I've got such thin decking. This is actually what I deck my entire boat in to save weight. But take away from it what you will. Thank you guys so much for joining me on another episode of Small Boat Shorts, where we like our boats tiny and our videos short. Until next time, may your tiny boat builds be great.